everyone, welcome back to another Pokemon TCG deck profile. Today we'll be going over one of the new decks from Fusion Strike, which is Mew Vmax. Mew Vmax is super strong and it utilizes the new Fusion Strike battle style. Let's get into the deck profile. A little reminder before we get into the deck profile here, if you enjoy this content and would like to see more, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. Now let's get into the deck profile. Let's start it off with our Mew line. So we start the Mew line with 4 Mew Vs. It's a Fusion Strike Pokemon and it has 180 HP. Energy Mix comes at the cost of 1 Psychic Energy. It allows us to search our deck for an energy card and attach it to one of our Fusion Strike Pokemon, then shuffle our deck. We only play Fusion Strike Pokemon in this deck, so Energy Mix is a viable attack. It also allows us to accelerate that new Fusion Strike energy, because it doesn't specify basic energy. This attack can be copied by Mew Vmax's Cross Fusion Strike attack, which is what this deck revolves around. So Energy Mix, later on in the game or early on, is a great attack. Psychic Leaf comes at the cost of a Psychic Energy and 1 Colorless Energy, and only hits for 70 damage. But it says you may shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck. So, if we were to copy this attack with Mew Vmax, we could deny our opponent 3 prize cards if Mew Vmax is building up some damage. It's an okay attack and might get used on the occasion, but we mostly play Mew V to evolve into Mew Vmax. Mew Vmax has 310 HP, and it's a Fusion Strike Pokemon. Cross Fusion Strike comes at the cost of 2 Colorless Energy. It says choose one of your bench Fusion Strike Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. This gives us a lot of options and a lot of ways to use this attack. So we play a few different Fusion Strike Pokemon in this deck, so we can use Cross Fusion Strike to copy those attacks and use whatever works best in the situation. One of the best things about Cross Fusion Strike is that it only costs 2 Colorless Energy. So it only comes at the cost of 2 energy, and we could potentially use Cross Fusion Strike for 2 energy and copy an attack that would normally cost us 3. It also only costs 2 colorless energy, so we don't necessarily have to have the correct energy on Mew Vmax to use an attack. So if we were to copy Genesect V's Technoblast attack, we wouldn't need Metal Energy on here. We could actually just have 2 Capture Energy if we wanted to. Max Miracle is the second attack. It comes at the cost of 2 Psychic Energy. It's for only 130, but its attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So if we were to run into something like Decidueye, or Zamazenta V, or a Latias, we could use a Max Miracle to go right through that. If we had 2 maybe Capture Energy on Mew Vmax, or 1 Psychic Energy and 1 Capture Energy, or if we just don't have the right energy to use Max Miracle, that's okay, because if we have a Mew Vmax on the bench, we can use Cross Fusion Strike on our active Mew to copy Max Miracle from the bench. That's Mew Vmax, but this deck does have a pretty cool Fusion Strike engine, and that is Genesect V. Genesect V has 190 HP, and it's a Fusion Strike Pokemon. Its ability Fusion Strike System says once during your turn, you may draw cards until you have as many cards in your hand as you have Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. We only play Fusion Strike Pokemon in this deck, so if we were to get all 6 out onto our playing field, we'd be able to use Fusion Strike System for basically the same effect as a Crobat V would get us. We can also get multiple Genesect V out into play, which would allow us to use Fusion Strike System multiple times each turn, allowing us to draw a lot of cards. Technoblast is the attack on Genesect V, and it's the main one we'll be copying with Mew Vmax's Cross Fusion Strike. That's because it has the highest base damage in this deck. It hits for 210, and then it says during your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. Mew Vmax has free retreat, so if we were to copy this attack with Cross Fusion Strike, then we could retreat Mew Vmax down to the bench and then play a switch to bring it back up to reset the effects of Technoblast and hit for 210 again. Fusion Strike System ability also gives us access to a lot of slower supporter cards that you might not be able to play in decks, because this basically supplements our Professor's Research that you normally see in a lot of decks. So Fusion Strike System is a great ability. Oricorio is one of our Fusion Strike Pokemon that we play, 90 HP, and it's a Fusion Strike Pokemon. Its ability Lesson in Zeal is the main reason we play it. It says all of your Fusion Strike Pokemon take 20 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. Reducing 20 damage isn't a huge deal, but it could potentially save our Pokemon from being knocked out sometimes. Oricorio has a nice attack, Glistening Droplets, which can be copied with Mew Vmax's Cross Fusion Strike. It says put 5 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. So if one of our opponent's Pokemon went down to the bench and we want to snipe it, we could do that with Glistening Droplets. We could also clean up any Pokemon that are close to being knocked out with this attack. The final Pokemon in this list is Latios. It's a Fusion Strike Pokemon, and it does play with the other card in Fusion Strike, Latios, but we only play it for its attack, Dyna Barrier. It only hits for 70, but it says during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from Pokemon Vmax. If we were going up against a Vmax heavy deck, Dyna Barrier would give us some defensive measures and could really help us out. If we were going up against another Mew VMAX deck that used Latios and they chose to use Dyna Barrier, no worries. We can use that Max Miracle attack to go right through it. Now let's move on to the trainer cards. Let's start with the stadiums. The best stadium for this deck is definitely Rose Tower. It has kind of the same effect as Genesect V. It says once during each player's turn, that player may draw cards until they have 3 cards in their hand. So we play 4 copies of Peony in this deck as our main supporter, and so if we were to throw our hand away with that, search out 2 trainer cards, play them, then we could take advantage of Rose Tower by drawing until we have 3 in our hand. Then we could play those cards and use Genesect V to draw even more cards. So Rose Tower works really great in this deck, but we do want to make sure we have a split of stadium cards, because if we were to play all 4 copies of Rose Tower, that might mean we could get some stadiums clogged up in our hand that we wouldn't be able to play, which means that we might not be able to draw as many cards with Genesect V. So we run 1 copy of Old Cemetery. Whenever any player attaches an energy card from their hand to one of their non-psychic Pokemon, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. We're only going to be attaching energy to our Mew V and VMAX in this deck, so Old Cemetery is a potential good stadium. Then we have our supporter cards. So our main supporter, as I mentioned, is Peony. It says discard your hand and search your deck for up to 2 trainer cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. This is a very strong supporter, but it comes at the cost of discarding your hand. That's a risk a lot of decks aren't willing to take, but because we have access to Genesect V, we can use Peony to find the exact cards we need. This is helpful for finding stadium cards, and most importantly, Power Tablet. Then we run 2 copies of Elisa's Sparkle, another slower supporter that we might not be able to use in a lot of decks, but because we have that Genesect V, we can use it. It's a Fusion Strike supporter, and it says choose up to 2 of your Fusion Strike Pokemon. For each of those Pokemon, search your deck for a Fusion Strike energy card and attach it to that Pokemon. So Elisa's Sparkle can help us accelerate some energy, especially that helpful Fusion Strike energy. We played 2 copies of Boss's Orders if something ran away onto the bench and we went to bring it back up to knock it out. We played 2 copies of Chili, Silent, and Cress. Some Mew VMAX decks aren't playing this card, but I think it's a no-brainer. Our main goal in this deck is to get a lot of Fusion Strike Pokemon in play, so we have as many options as possible to copy with Cross Fusion Strike. Chili and Silent and Crest does just that for us. It lets us search our deck for up to 3 Fusion Strike Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into our hand. This could easily grab us a Mew V, Genesect V, or Oricorio and Latios. It can also grab us Mew VMAX because it doesn't specify basic Pokemon. So we don't play Professor's Research in this deck, but we do have 2 copies of Marnie, so sometimes throwing away our whole hand with Peony isn't the best idea, so we do play 2 copies of Marnie if we want to maybe recycle our hand back into the deck and disrupt our opponent's hand, rather than just throwing all those cards back into the discard pile. For the item cards, we play 1 copy of Battle VIP Pass. So this card was seen by a lot of players when it first came out as absolutely garbage, but it does work well in this deck. So it says you can use this card only during your first turn. Search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. Then shuffle your deck. If we were to go second, then we could use Peony to search out this card, and this card could easily nab us 2 Genesect V to put into play. So if we were to get this at the right time, it would help us get set up for sure. There's 2 copies of Evo Incense, just so we can find our Mew VMAX. We played 3 copies of Fog Crystal. This allows us to search our deck for a Psychic Energy card or a basic Psychic Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into our hand. So we could use this to find basic Mew V or one of the 4 copies of basic Psychic Energy we play in the deck. There's 1 copy of Ordinary Rod, so this allows us to recycle some Pokemon and energy from the discard pile. This is helpful if early on we're forced to discard a Latios or Oricorio, and then we can bring them back to the deck later on because they are super helpful. There's 4 copies of Power Tablet in here. It's a new Fusion Strike trainer card. Says during this turn, your Fusion Strike Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's basically electric power for Fusion Strike Pokemon. This can help us fix our math to get the perfect numbers we need to knock out our opponent's active Pokemon, or just boost our damage in general. So finding this card in some cases can be crucial, so that's a great reason to play Peony, which allows us to grab potentially up to 2 Power Tablet, and then we can use Genesect V to draw a lot of cards. That's one of the benefits of having all this card search, is that we can go after all the Power Tablets we need to take knockouts quickly. There's 4 copies of Quick Ball, so we can find our basic Pokemon like in Genesect V. 3 copies of Switch, so after we use Techno Blast, we can retreat Mew to the bench and then switch it back up to reset that Techno Blast and make sure we can keep attacking every turn. Then we've run 1 copy of Air Balloon, so Mew V and Mew Vmax both have free retreat, but Genesect V doesn't. And since we'll likely have a lot of Genesect V in play, we want to be able to make sure that we can pivot with Genesect V. So 1 copy of Air Balloon is not a bad idea because it does allow Genesect V to have free retreat. Then for the energy cards, we play 4 copies of the new Fusion Strike Energy. So obviously this can be accelerated with Elisa Sparkle or manually attached from the hand. Since as long as this card is attached to a Fusion Strike Pokemon, it provides every type of energy but provides only 1 energy at a time. Prevent all effects of your opponent's Pokemon's abilities done to the Pokemon this card is attached to. So if we were going up against a deck that used Quick Shooting Inteleon or the new Inteleon Vmax, they might be trying to snipe our Pokemon with those abilities, but if that Pokemon has a Fusion Strike Energy attached, then those abilities won't be able to damage it. So Fusion Strike Energy is great energy in here. We don't necessarily need it because it provides all types of energy, but it's just handy to have because it does prevent the effects of our opponent's abilities. 4 copies of Capture Energy. Pokemon Search in this deck is essential because, like I said, we want to fill our bench with those Fusion Strike Pokemon. So Capture Energy is a great choice, and we don't have to worry about it not providing for the attack cost we need because Mew VMAX's Cross Fusion Strike only costs colorless energy. When we attach this card from our hand to a Pokemon, we get to search our deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto our bench. This can help fill up our bench with Genesect V and other Fusion Strike Pokemon super quick. And to finish off the deck, we run 4 copies of basic Psychic Energy, just so we can have some more energy in the deck, and these are searchable with Fog Crystal. That's the deck profile for Mew VMAX. If you enjoyed and would like to see more Pokemon TCG content, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. I upload new videos on Mondays and Thursdays. Drop me a comment down below, let me know what you think of the new Fusion Strike battle style in the Mew VMAX deck. That's it for me, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, trainers.